Welcome to the demo of Splunk Hyperthreat app suite, which provides an advanced insider threat detection. The suite consists of several independent and separately usable Splunk apps and add-ons, namely the Risk Manager, the main app for detecting and reporting risk events and scoring risk objects, Hyperbaseline, a general-purpose baselining add-on to monitor activity and detect outliers, and finally Hypercrypto, an add-on that provides hash and crypto commands. But first of all, why should I use the Hyperthreat app suite? Detecting insiders is a tough task, as they can move slowly over several weeks and months and stay undetected, but you do not want to trigger an incident for each little suspicious action. But by providing a risk score for them and aggregating them onto a risk object, which could be, for example, a user or an employee doing something bad, or a system or host being attacked, you are able to track the risk over time and therefore identify if further investigations are necessary. And last but not least, Hyperthreat is a complete and free solution to use for everyone. So let's get onto it. How does it work? Let's start with the definition of a Splunk search and a Splunk alert. Within this Splunk search, we are defining the standard behavior, or we're actually calculating the standard behavior of a user logging into a system. With the fill baseline command, a couple of statistical values are calculated and stored into a Splunk collection. In this scenario, we do hash the username and only store based on that user hash, making use of the Hypercrypto functionality. These stored statistics are used later on as a reference to calculate within the alert if an actual event is a risk, yes or no. As you see in here, we're using the compare to baseline command to retrieve the statistical values, calculate a score based on these values, and that's if then in case of the score being equals to 1, we do generate an alert. This alert will call the risk handler Pi script provided by the risk manager, and thus the risk manager will take care of that alert. Inside risk settings, a user having the Splunk Risk Manager role assigned is able to manage which alerts are handled by the Risk Manager. For each alert, you have to define a risk object, such as a user, a host, or in this scenario, a user hash, which will be monitored. And on top of that, a risk score, which is assigned to the risk object. These risk scores are accumulated should a risk object be detected by an alert. In case you need the contributing data being stored, for example, to collect the evidence, you're able to tell the risk manager that it should store them in a key value store. The risk overview is divided into 4 sections. A couple of filters which do apply to the summary statistics below, telling you about how many risk objects did trigger an alert, what was the average risk score, what was the total sum of risk score, and how many searches did trigger these alerts. In the mid section, you do see the top 10 risk objects sorted by the risk score, and finally, at the bottom section, you do have the most triggering events also sorted by how often did they trigger an alert. If you're interested into more detail, you can click on any line you'd like. It will open the risk search and will tell you over time what happened to exactly that risk object. At that time, the risk object did increase its score by 2 to a total risk score of 32 because of the following alert. If you want to see further detail, you can get the raw event by clicking onto the line you're interested in. You could have also reached that detailed search through the risk analyzer. It enables you to evaluate the risk score development over time, apply some filters, and see the details again by clicking on the object you are interested in. Last but not least, I want to mention that in most countries, privacy laws are very restrictive and are getting tighter all the time. Therefore, we've implemented the Hypercrypto add-on, which enables you to hash and encrypt user-sensitive data. Only users having the right role in Splunk are able to decrypt this encrypted data by clicking into the risk details for the decrypted version.